When we say strength, we mean kettlebell. When we say kettlebell, we mean strength. And many other attributes as well. Resilience, fat loss without the dishonor of dieting and aerobics, flexibility, muscle gain. The kettlebell is truly an extreme handheld gym. Comrade, let's talk about kettlebell training safety. The first thing is wear correct shoes or no shoes whatsoever. It's best to train barefoot. If you can't do that, train in shoes that are very thin and very flat. Observe the shoes I'm wearing or the shoes my fellow instructors are wearing. So tennis shoes, running shoes are no good. Always respect the kettlebell. Always treat every kettlebell as if it's a very heavy kettlebell. Always use your good judgment, but you gotta be able to let go of the kettlebell if a rep goes bad. So if you're so concerned about your nice hardwood floor, well, guess what? You better go practice somewhere else. Comrade, an important aspect of your situational awareness is when you train together with your kettlebell and your TRX, put one piece of gear away when you're training with the other. For example, you just finished your set of kettlebell snatches and you're moving up to the TRX. Park that kettlebell far enough. The last thing you want to do is start doing lunges and trip over a kettlebell and hurt yourself. So, I'm watching you. Pay attention. Progress in an intelligent fashion. Very patiently, work your swings, work your get-ups, work your squats. Finally, when you have, you'll be able to master many other essential skills. As a beginner, a lady needs an 18-pound kettlebell. Ideally, get an 18-pounder and a 26-pounder. A beginner gentleman needs a 35-pounder and also 53-pounder. So those two kettlebells will serve you extremely well. When you got your bells, let's learn how to use them. The first and most important exercise is the kettlebell deadlift. The most functional thing that you can think about is the deadlift, simply picking up the weight from the ground. This is where we're going to start. What you need to do with the kettlebell between your feet, sit back, hinge at the hips, grab the bell, pick it up. Set it down between your feet. Let's see it from a different angle. Pick it up. How do we learn? Mark, please stand right here. Use a wall. I'm going to use my colleague, Comrade Mark Toomey, who is an RKC team leader, very experienced instructor. So, you stand like this against the wall and position yourself in the athletic stance slightly wider than the shoulders and push away from the wall. Notice the position your back will assume. Push your knees out. Thank you, Mark. Please step away. Do you drop your hands and you're in the initial position for your deadlift? So sit back, hinge at the hips, grab the bell, look at the horizon, not higher, not lower. Stand up. Sit back, sit down. So the movement takes place right here at the hip. It's just the hinge. The back does not move. Know that on the top of the deadlift, your body must form a straight line. If you're finishing like this or like this, you're not deadlifting. Notice that your knees must not protrude forward. Your heels must always be planted. The same thing applies to other drills we're going to be doing later in this clinic. The next drill, the two-handed kettlebell swing. Before we do the swing, we need to do a very special variation of the deadlift. Notice what we're going to do. You're going to sit back, remember this wall, pick up the kettlebell, shoulders down towards your feet, swing the bell back using your armpits. Swing it back only. Let it come back forward naturally. Then, when it swings on the end of the back swing, suddenly stand up. Swing it back, stand up. Be careful not to overbalance on your toes. If this ever happens, let go of the kettlebell. Next drill, one arm swing. So the one arm swing looks like this. You step back behind the kettlebell. You always start the swing with the bell right here. One arm swing, two arm swing. Start in the front, park it between your feet. So you take a breath, eyes on the horizon, hike it back, pop the hips. Hike it, pop the hips. And set it down just between your feet. Breathing. You must forcefully exhale on the top of the swing. How do you do that? Why don't you just call out the number of the swing? 5, 6, 7. It's scream with spirit. On the bottom, inhale through your nose. Two-handed. 1, 2, one-handed. 3, 4, 5. Here's how you switch hands for the swing. That was the swing. The next drill, Comrade Andrea Duquesne is going to demonstrate the kettlebell halo. The kettlebell halo will help you to switch sides in the get-up, and it's a great way to loosen up your shoulders. Try to bring your elbow back far behind your head because you need to feel the stretch in your lat. Thank you, Comrade Andrea. Now let's proceed to the shoe get-up. Comrade, before you start doing the get-up with the kettlebell, you must practice with the shoe on your fist. The purpose of this is to develop the skill before tackling the weight. The shoe on the fist will give you feedback. If your arm is no longer vertical, as it must be with a heavy kettlebell, the shoe will fall on your face. All right, comrade, this is the first step of the get-up. The first of the 3 steps is the sit-up. Notice how her body is positioned. On the same side as the kettlebell, her leg is bent, knee is out to the side, and she's digging in with her heel. Digging in. And she's pivoting on her left elbow. Pivoting. Leading with the chest. So it's not really a sit-up. You lead with your chest. Her shoulder is always sunk into the socket. So you have to pull your shoulder down into the body this way and this way. That's extremely important. Next step, please observe. Observe Andrea's footwork. That's from the sit-up to half kneel. Notice she's gonna go back and forth between these 2 stages. Observe that both arms are working quite hard. And both arms, you have to engage the lat. You may not allow your shoulder to go up like this. You have to press down from your armpit, as Comrade Andrea is doing. From the armpit. Should be very graceful. Notice that she's windshield wipering this leg. So please watch this one more time. See how naturally this leg turns into the lunge position. Let's go down one more time. Please observe as she's going down, she's hinging at the hip, just the way we do that in the swing. So it's not a side bend, it's not a twist, it's just a hinge. Okay, notice also, she's focusing on the hinge and not on the hand. The way, pause right here please, Andrea. The way this hand is positioned, right now she can support a lot of weight. If I were to put a very heavy kettlebell, we can audit her structure and she'll be able to support it. So always conduct a mental experiment. If what I'm doing, could I do this or would I do this with a very heavy bell? All right, as she's straightening out, she's squeezing that glute and now she's going into the next step, you see? So to stand up, here's the lunge. Let's do it a few times. Up until now, she was looking at the bell. From now on, she's looking straight at the horizon. Notice that the heel of the front leg always stays planted. Notice that the legs stay on railroad tracks, hips stay square, and the back leg is dragging like if you had a sheet of paper underneath that left foot. It would just slide on the floor very, very nicely. Very good. So now she's going back down, just reversing this movement. It's a beautiful and very graceful movement, and ideally it should be done. Please pause right here. Let's pay attention to this position. See the starting position? That leg and this arm are pretty much at the same angle. The shoulder is pulled away from the body. Just remember that. Practice that. Notice how she's going to lower this. There we go. And she's going to roll to the side. We'll do this again with the kettlebell. All right, Comrade Andrea, please grab the kettlebell and let's do this one more time. Let's talk a little bit about the benefits of the get-up. The get-up makes your shoulder mobile, stable, resilient, and strong. It has been said that old-time strongmen, when they would teach a pupil, they would show them the get-up and tell them, come back when you can do this with 100 pounds. Because by the time you can do this with 100 pounds, you are very strong and you can move very well. The important thing is really take your time and not try to rush the different stages of the get-up. All right, so this is what we're doing right now. This is the first stage again. Let's go back down. And let's start from the beginning. Please notice she overgrips the handle with a pistol grip. She goes into this fetal position. Let's roll a couple times, just a roll. Notice how close she holds it to her body. If the bell is heavy, you don't want it out here. So really close. And one more time. Please roll it up. Okay, notice she's gonna press it out, connect it to her body through a lat and pec, and off she goes. Please observe her wrist position. The wrist is straight. In kettlebells, like in boxing, there are no wrists. Like this. This is no good. So if you're to punch with your knuckles, that's the way your wrist must be lined up. Please pause right here for a second, Andrea. Notice that her forearm is behind her head. Please step all the way up and face away from me. Okay, that's very good. Notice the position that she has. There's a good stretch. She's leaning forward from her chest. Do you see? This is what gives her shoulder a nice stretch. Please continue with the get up. If she were to lean forward with her stomach, that is no good whatsoever. With her head, that's no good either. So you must lead with the chest. Very good. And now let's switch to the other side. Please observe, the halo is going to come in very handy. Do you see? Just halo it around your head and do it the other way. So please observe it one more time. Wrist straight. A good grip, not crush grip, but a good grip on the bell. Push the shoulder down. Notice the windshield wiper one more time. Notice, very good. And let's do a complete get up. Excellent. If you have a hard time getting up, just do a little grunt. A little grunt is going to make it easier. So another highly functional, fundamental skill. Please notice the way she's going to park the belt. No matter how light it is, you always respect the belt. You always treat it as if it's a very heavy belt. Thank you, Comrade Andrea. All right, Comrade, our next drill. We're going to work on the squat, specifically the goblet squat. That exercise is not only going to make your legs very, very strong, it's going to make your hips very, very mobile.